Welcome back to Revved Up with Ram Thorburn. From coast to coast, the Trump team holds election fraud hearings, but the media remains deaf to them all. How long can they close their eyes and plug their ears before they realize it's January 21st and Donald Trump is still their president?
Never tell them who I am. Well, I came. I'm a man. 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
Welcome back to Revved Up, and we got a jam-packed show as usual for you today. But before we get going, I want to give a shout-out to Salty Cracker and the Salty Army. He gave me a shout-out last night on his re-stream. So, and a bunch of his Salty Army came over and showed some love over here on Revved Up. So, he's got another stream going tomorrow. So, if you don't know Salty Cracker, he's a much bigger channel than I am, but he's a cool dude. Go over there on his stream tomorrow, toss him a little super chat, and let him know that the Revved Up Outlaws know how to make some noise, too. Got to make as many alliances as we can in this fight against the Fashcoms and the Commie-crats. So, always good to see other people out there fighting the good fight and doing it well. So, if you're not familiar with Salty Cracker, go and check him out. He's a cool dude. But anyways, first story today. President Trump makes first formal address on the presidential elections, and he put out a 45-minute speech yesterday, and it was a hell of a speech. I mean, for all of us who have been keeping up with the news and keeping up with everything, we already knew everything that he was saying. But coming out of his mouth, it was a speech for those that aren't necessarily the most politically engaged. I mean, if you're on the left, you're not going to give a fuck. If you're on the left, you actually already know that this election was stolen, and you cheer on the election steal, because that's who the left is. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. This is for the regular people, the regular Joes who just, you know, they check the headlines once a day, and they have no idea how corrupt our media establishment is. They have no idea what's really going on. If they happen to see Donald Trump, if they happen to watch that speech, which of course the media didn't show, it had to go on YouTube and, you know, different social media apparatuses. But if they happen to see that speech that he makes, they're going to sit there and say, "Holy shit!" Because they're going to have no other way to know. Because most of them are not going to be on here on YouTube listening to people like me. They're only reading the headlines of the mainstream media. And they might, you know, get on YouTube every once in a while, and they might say, "Oh, Trump made a speech. Let's see what he has to say about the election." And then he brings out charts. He brings out motherfucking charts. He brings the receipts. He shows everybody what the hell is going on. So let's hope that somehow reaches enough of the, the more normal, less politically engaged crowd than the people that come to this channel. But it was a hell of a speech. And President Trump made his first formal address regarding the November 3rd elections on Wednesday. The White House posted the president's 45-minute speech on social media, in which he detailed multiple instances of voting irregularities. President raised concerns Joe Biden seemed to take a back seat in the campaigns while insisting Democrat leaders knew the elections were over before they even began. And that is so true. Let's take a little listen to this portion of his speech right here, if it'll play.
Thank you. This may be the most important speech I've ever made. I want to provide an update on our ongoing efforts to expose the tremendous voter fraud and irregularities which took place during the ridiculously long November 3rd elections. We used to have what was called Election Day. Now we have election days, weeks and months. And lots of bad things happened during this ridiculous period of time, especially when you have to prove almost nothing to exercise our greatest privilege, the right to vote. As president, I have no higher duty than to defend the laws and the Constitution of the United States. That is why I am determined to protect our election system, which is now under coordinated assault and siege. For months leading up to the presidential election, we were warned that we should not declare a premature victory. We were told repeatedly that it would take weeks, if not months, to determine the winner, to count the absentee ballots, and to verify the results. My opponent was told to stay away from the election. Don't campaign. We don't need you. We've got it. This election is done. In fact, they were acting like they already knew what the outcome was going to be. They had it covered, and perhaps they did, very sadly for our country. It was all very, very strange. Within days after the election, we witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint a winner, even while many key states were still being counted. The constitutional process must be allowed to continue. We are going to defend the honesty of the vote by ensuring that every legal ballot is counted and that no illegal ballot is counted. This is not just about honoring the votes of 74 million Americans who voted for me. It's about ensuring that Americans can have faith in this election and in all future elections.
Exactly. They kept Joe Biden in the basement the entire time because they knew every time that motherfucker opens his mouth, he says some stupid shit. He says some shit that's going to get him in trouble. And there's only so much the media can cover up because social media does exist, even though they're in on the whole fix too. You know, they try to cover everything that they can and try to cover Joe Biden and make sure that he's protected in his little glass bubble where no bad news reaches him. We heard the CNN tapes. If you haven't heard the CNN tapes coming out from Project Veritas, you know, they're talking about how they were spiking the Hunter Biden story and trying to hide it. So President Trump also accused the Democrat establishment of taking advantage of the pandemic by making last-minute changes to the election procedure and pushing for universal mail-in balloting. This colossal expansion of mail-in voting opened the floodgates to massive fraud, he stated. It is a widely known fact that voting rolls are packed with people who are not lawfully eligible to vote, including those who are deceased, have moved out of their state, or are even non-citizens of the country. Yeah, and that's absolutely massive voter fraud. But we got probably one of the biggest motherfucking bombshells out of Georgia just dropped, and this is brutal. This is devastating. So Rudy Giuliani was providing all of his testimony to Georgia today, and they pulled out this video. And this is an OAN video, but you can see the security footage here.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question. So
this was after that supposed water main burst, which we found out then that there was no water main burst. There was no water main burst, so they faked a water main burst, used that as a pretense to get everybody out of the used to be called Phillips Arena. I forget what it's called now in Atlanta there. And the State Farm Arena got everyone out so that there were no watchers, and then 4 of them went back in, pulled out 4 suitcases full of ballots, and went back to counting with nobody watching. Sounds pretty fraudulent to me, and anybody who is honest with themselves. Even any Democrat should be able to look at this and be like, oh yeah, man, we fucked up. We fucked up. And they got this all on video. They got it all on video. How stupid are these people? How stupid are they? There's no way that Georgia can go for Biden after this comes out. They're gonna have to get rid of it. Have to get rid of it. And so then we have, another one in Michigan. Now this woman was a piece of fucking work. This is Representative Cynthia Johnson in Michigan. And so they had this hearing in Michigan, and this Indian immigrant woman named Hema is giving her testimony. And this Cynthia Johnson woman, this is a shortened version. I watched it a little bit. Yeah, a little bit previously, but this is kind of I think the important
order.
What
right.
The concerns
out of order. Do you have a point of order?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a point of order? Yes.
What is your point of order?
Point of order is to have them under oath.
You're out of order. As I've said, this is something that is not done here in this state. It's really only...
It may not be done under the state, but you're allowing people to come in here and lie, and I know they're lying.
Representative, you're out of order. I've indulged you, but you're out of order, and we're going to move on.
On behalf of my witnesses, I would like to point out that every single witness we've presented here has sworn an affidavit as to all of these facts.
And so...
Representative, please, I gave you some room there, but we're going to move on. We're going to go
May
now.
I say something, please?
Sure.
If that is what you want me to do, I will do it. And I will still repeat the exact same thing I watched. And you know what? I also want to say one thing. If it is a lie, it may change because a liar has to have a lot of memory power. If it is truth, you can ask me in the middle of the night, it will still be the same.
All right, I'm going to take this here.
Ooh. Yeah, man, that woman, for about 3 minutes before that, she was just rambling on about me as a woman who grew up in Detroit, and where are the people from Detroit, and I'm talking about myself now, and like she was just rambling and fumbling around, trying to come up with how she could discredit these people, and she's sitting there saying, I want them under oath. Bitch, they signed sworn affidavits. They're making their statements under penalty of perjury. They're reading their affidavits. They're saying the same thing they said in their affidavits that they swore to. So what the fuck does having them under oath make a difference? She knows she's fucked. All of these people know that they're fucked. They know that we are on to everything. We have all of the information. We have everything, every dirty deed that they did. And we're going to get them. We're going to get them. And she knows she's sitting there. She's sitting there shitting her pants with a California mudslide in her pants because she knows that she is going to be one of the ones that gets arrested because she was likely involved in the entire thing. If she or she knows people that were, at least. I don't know exactly what her role is, but the evidence is so massive that in Nevada they had another one of these hearings, and the Trump team had to rent a separate vehicle to transport a massive amount of voter fraud evidence to the hearing. They had to rent a whole separate truck just to get all of the damn evidence over there. And so, it says, don't let the babyface fool you. Trump campaign attorney Jay Banal is a badass. I will admit, he doesn't look like a badass, but Banal called out the Lincoln Project crybabies for doxing Trump attorneys by tweeting, "Hey, Lincoln Project, I hear you like to dox and harass lawyers who defend the president and stand up for transparent elections. I just filed the Nevada election contest to recognize @real Donald Trump as the true winner. Come at me, bro." And then he's got Val Kilmer from Tombstone saying, "I'm your Huckleberry." Is Jesse Banal trying to come up as the next big Trump star? Because this is how you come up as the next big Trump star. I'm a fan just from this. And I'm also a huge fan of the movie Tombstone. I love Tombstone. So if you make a Tombstone reference, you're automatically going to get points in my book. But at the conclusion of the hearing today, the Carson City District Court Judge, James Russell, said that he wanted more time to evaluate the evidence. So here's what it looked like outside of the Nevada hearing. Trump supporters everywhere. And then we got this video here.
Carson City had a hearing I'm about to walk into. That's ongoing right now. Carson County.
That's not the right video. That's not the video I was trying to show you guys. Where'd it go? Either way, it was a massive hearing out there. Massive hearing. And or not massive hearing, massive crowd out there. Massive crowd showed up, and they were all there showing their love for Donald Trump, as Trump supporters tend to do. But you can see here the massive amount of evidence. 20 binders.
Yeah, this is gonna be. I mean, this is the appellate record.
Hey Jesse, what is all this stuff?
This is evidence of voter fraud. Binders 1 through 20.
And those weren't your little 1-inch binders either. Those are the big 4-inch bad boys, just filled with evidence. filled with evidence. And they had to get a whole nother vehicle just to get all the evidence over there. Absolutely insane. And down in my home state of Georgia, a voter group has identified more than 50,000 illegal votes, enough votes to move Georgia to the Trump column. I feel like we've been saying that phrase a lot, enough to move whatever state to the Trump column, because we've got the goods, we've got it all. Now, a group in Georgia has identified more than 40,000 votes cast in the 2020 election that were illegal. One of many volunteer groups, a Georgia-based voter data analytics firm, says it has found that about 40,000 illegal votes were cast in Georgia in the November 3rd general election. Mark Davis, president of Data Productions Incorporated and considered an expert in 5 court cases concerning election disputes, found 40,239 people who moved from one county to another more than 30 days before the election and voted in their old county, which is illegal according to Georgia law. Those 40,239 people who voted failed to register their new addresses in time to vote in their new county, and according to the law, they cannot vote in either county until they do. 40,239 illegal votes are more than triple the size of the current margins in the presidential race, as Joe Biden is listed as being approximately 12,000 votes ahead of President Donald Trump. It's funny, isn't it, how in all of these states, Trump was up by hundreds of thousands of votes. And then we had those overnight vote dumps, and then all of a sudden, just by the narrowest of margins, Biden is up. He just happened to get just enough. It's almost like they knew the math. Almost like they knew the math. So the analysis also found that 267,255 people notified the USPS that they moved outside the state of Georgia, which means that they are no longer eligible to vote in the state. Yet 14,980 of those people allegedly voted in the 2020 election in Georgia, 100% of them illegally. Yes, so all those votes should be tossed out and give the damn state to Trump. That doesn't even count. That doesn't even count all those damn ballots that they found in those suitcases underneath the table. Never mind those. I mean, God, I would be surprised if Biden pulled half the votes that he got. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that more than half of Biden votes were all fraudulent, all illegal. Throw it out. Throw it out. But there's more coming out with the Dominion system as well. So we have this also from the Gateway Pundit. Oh, I gotta scroll up. Dominion software was accessible to far-left indivisible organizers on election night, an Obama-linked group that endorsed Joe Biden. Why does an Obama-linked group that endorsed Joe Biden have access to the Dominion software? So on November 25th, a 21-year-old electronic intelligence analyst under 305th Military Intelligence, that's the Kraken for those of you guys who aren't keeping up. The 305th Military Intelligence is, their code name is the Kraken, and so that is what Sidney Powell has been talking about when she talks about release the Kraken. So under 305th Military Intelligence, with experience gathering SAM missile system electronic intelligence, signed a declaration of evidence for attorney Sidney Powell in her investigation of the massive fraud in the 2020 presidential election. The declaration from an active duty military analyst was made public this week. The young analyst says that within 5 days of the election, he/she was able to connect to DominionVotingSystems.com, which is Dominion's proprietary URL, to Belgrade, Iran, China, and indivisible.org. The U.S. has a copy of the traffic and packets of the information that were sent to Germany on election night. On Monday, the first expert in Arizona legislature hearing with Rudy Giuliani was U.S. cybersecurity expert Colonel Phil Waldron. Colonel Phil Waldron spoke first at the Arizona hearing about the voting machines used in the U.S. elections. The Dominion systems were connected to the internet as well, despite Dominion's claims to the contrary. And so they were. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, we're talking about, it was Mr. Krebs? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. He stated the most secure election in history. He stated we're not connected to the internet. He stated no votes leave this country. This is all things he's stated publicly.
So on the CISA website, correct?
Right. So are you willing to say under oath that you have seen the connection to the internet? You have seen it go offshore to Germany, Frankfurt, Are these things that you have personally seen and can say that is not true?
Our white hat hackers, yes, they have that traffic in the packets.
So why would he make that kind of...
So they have the traffic and the packets. The packets mean they have the actual data. They got the data going from these Dominion servers to Frankfurt, Germany. Busted. I don't see any way, shape, or form that this election holds up. And if for some reason it does, then that is an absolute indictment on just how corrupt our entire system is, and then it's time to take to the streets. Then it's time that we start bringing guns to our protests. It's time that's when we start headed to governor's mansions. That's when we start going to capitals. That's when we start going to these places. And one thing that we got to make clear is that we should not be afraid of them. They should be afraid of us. These motherfuckers, they seem to not fear us one bit, because we've always been so polite about everything. We've always been we never know which hill we want to die on, because they present so many fucking hills. Well, guess what, guys? This is the fucking hill to die on. This is the one that we take the fight and we go all the fuck in. So the records within the system can be manipulated by outside parties and insiders as well.
The voting record is able to be modified, deleted, adjusted by administrators or outside threats, and those are also explained in the user's manual. Operators can assign votes for write-in votes, blank or error ballots in large numbers. So all of these votes, they could get put into a batch file, and then the administrator of that voting or tabulation system can say, okay, there's 8,000 votes in this batch file, or there's 5,000 votes in this batch file, and they can say, well, I think, this batch, we'll just make this go to this candidate.
So they can just take all the votes, just select certain ones, put them in a file, and then delete them if they want. I wonder how many Trump votes got deleted. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Donald Trump got 100 million fucking votes. I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. And then Joe Biden got like 20 million. Colonel Waldron claimed that not only did the military's white hat hackers see the data flowing overseas to Germany on election night, they also have a copy of the traffic and packet. Okay, yeah, so I already talked about that, and we already showed that. So, we got the goods, guys. We got the goods. So, to all of your friends, I actually just had a buddy of mine call me a minute ago, and he's a Trump supporter, but he had no idea what was going on. He's a Trump supporter. He's a conservative, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm about to start recording a video. And I told him I was going to be talking about the election fraud, and he starts talking about recounts. I'm like, whoa, hold on. If you're talking about recounts, you're way behind the information 8 ball right now. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about, and I don't mean that as any disrespect, but, and he's like, well, then why is the news not reporting on it? I'm like, because the news is corrupt. They're trying to cover it up. And I told him, I was like, you got to go to gatewaypundit.com. You got to go to 100% Fed Up. You got to go to all these different sites that are actually showing what's going on with these certain hearings. I told him also, you got to watch my videos because I'm talking about all this shit too. So, but it just goes to show how many people have no clue what's actually happening right now. Even if they support Donald Trump, not all of them are aware, because that is how effective the suppression between big tech and big media have been, the mainstream media. It's extremely effective because you actually have to go and hunt out this information. And not a whole lot of people do that. There's a lot of people that are kind of politically agnostic, or they just don't really care. They don't follow it all that much. And I got a feeling that a lot of them would care a lot more if they had any idea exactly how corrupt our country was. But we've got kind of what I call the bread and circus crowd. And those are the people who, they're not really engaged as long as they're at home, they're eating good, and they can go and turn on Netflix and sit there and eat some popcorn and watch a TV and go to bed and wake up the next day and do it all again. They're fucking happy. But guess what? If they don't get politically engaged, if they don't seem to understand what is going on, and we lose this fucking country, all of that shit is going out the goddamn window, and they're gonna find themselves in a motherfucking gulag before they know it. We know, and we've heard them talk about gulags. We've heard the Marxists talking about it. We've heard them talking about truth and reconciliation committees for Trump supporters. So they'll comb through your social media, or they won't even need to comb through your social media, because the social media company will just run an algorithm and see if you ever posted anything in support of Trump, and then they're going to say, all right, this guy needs to go. This guy needs to be re-educated. This guy needs to know that he was evil, and we need to make him right in our image. That's what the fuck they're going to do. Maybe not under Biden, but somewhere down the line. If we don't stand up to all of this shit, we cannot sit here and keep putting up with it. We can't. But Lynn Wood says that we, the people, will not let them steal our vote. Joe Biden will not set foot in the White House. And of course, that, you know, it's fun to hear that from Lynn Wood, but it sounds like we also heard that from Lynn Wood heard it specifically from Donald Trump, which is very encouraging, because when my buddy sent me the link to Trump's speech yesterday, he was like, "Oh, he's telling me how major it was," and I'm sitting there like my creative mind going on in the back of my head. I'm like, "Oh shit, is this the moment? Is this the moment? Is Trump going to come out with his Leonardo DiCaprio Wolf of Wall Street moment where he comes out and he says, 'I'm not fucking leaving'?" I was hoping it was. And while the speech is huge, the speech is definitely huge. Because he did a very good job of delivering all the information, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't really pay attention that might actually listen to Trump when he says it, that won't necessarily go to the Gateway Pundit or all these other websites that are posting all this stuff, or they don't really follow, you know, the right people on Twitter to hear all this information. Whatever it is, they're going to hear that, and it's going to blow their minds. But for me watching, I'm sitting there, I was expecting some new information for me, and I'm sitting there like, I know all this stuff. But it was a huge, huge, huge speech for him to give, because like I said, I've been so involved in politics. I've had my eyes on politics for so long that I forget that the majority of people are not like me. The majority of people are probably not like you. Most of them probably are far more disengaged. And so when it comes to a speech like that, even if it is a lot of stuff that I already know, being able to put that out there from the president's own mouth for these people to hear is a big deal. It is a big deal. But today, during a press conference held by two of America's most powerful and patriotic attorneys, Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, they blasted the Republican Party. Wood even asked the crowd if they thought perhaps it was time for a new party of patriots. What have I been saying? I said the Patriot Party. I said it's got to be the Patriot Party. It's got to be something that inspires that vigor for American constitutionalism. Patriot Party, yes. Wood also gave a shout out to Republican Governor Brian Kemp and Republican Secretary of State Raffensperger. He says, "Listen carefully, Governor Kemp. Listen carefully, Brad Raffensperger. I state as a matter of fact that you are criminals. You took money from Dominion. You took money from China. And I bet you'll never sue me because the truth will prove me right." Now, I just want to take one little thing for Patty McMurray. He didn't give a shout out to Republican governor. He called them out. Yeah, slight difference, but when you give a shout out, usually you're giving them a thumbs up. When you're giving a call out, it's a thumbs down. So after Powell was finished, Lynn Wood asked the crowd how they felt about a future president, Sidney Powell, and VP Michael Flynn. I think he might be getting that a little backwards. I think it would be President Michael Flynn, VP Sidney Powell. Flynn's been a general. He's a 3-star general. He's served the country militaristically. Usually they make a better commander-in-chief. But how about Sidney Powell and Mike Flynn in 2024, Wood asked the crowd. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Vernon Jones for governor." I love this Vernon Jones guy. He refused to leave the Democrat Party, the Commie-crat Party, despite the fact that he's been an ardent and true Trump supporter and seems to be a real patriot. So how funny would that be if you had all the Trump supporters voting for a Democrat governor in Georgia? How hilarious would that? He would win in a landslide. He would win in a landslide because you'd have all of the default Democrats that don't pay any attention say, "I'm voting for Vernon Jones, the Democrat, and he's black. He's really gonna give me what I want." And then you have all the Trump supporters come out and be like, "Yeah, that's our guy," and he'll win in a landslide. He'll win in a landslide if he does that. So, it was referring to Democrat Vernon Jones, who's a true Trump supporter and not a turncoat Republican like so many who have deserted our president. Oh my God, the Republican Party has been absolute shit. Absolute rotten cess. So, Joe Biden will not set foot in the White House. It will not happen on our watch, a fiery Wood told a massive crowd in Georgia. On January 20th, 2021, Donald J. Trump will be the president of the United States of America, he told them. Wood explained that, this is where it gets interesting. This is where it gets really spicy. Wood explained that he spoke with President Trump the other day. He knows he won this election, he said. If he lost the election fair and square, I would concede. But he said, Lynn, I didn't lose it, I won it. And he said to me, with the conviction of the President of the United States of America, I will never concede. Yes, yes. And we would never want you to concede. And we will have your back, Donald Trump, no matter what. We will get our guns and march to the Capitol, to the White House if we have to, and hold that motherfucker down for you. Let us know. We'll be there. Don't you ever concede, Mr. President. You won this election. America voted for you. It's 1776. This is our battle, Wood told the crowd. This is our freedom, he told them. We're going to take our country back again. Yes, the fuck we are. We are going to take this country back. We are not going to let the fashcoms and the goddamn commie-crats take it from us, sell us off bit by bit to China and whatever other foreign interest is the highest bidder. And next thing you know, we're sitting here starving saying, did we do this to ourselves? I thought we were the freest country in the world. Now I can't even eat a steak because there's somebody telling me I can't. I mean, I can't afford a steak, but even if I could afford a steak, I'm being told that I can't because now we all have to be fucking vegans. And they lopped my dick off because now everybody has to be the opposite gender of what they were born as. What the fuck world are we living in now? Did we do this to ourselves? Yes, the fuck we did. Because we didn't stand up when the moment fucking mattered. So, yeah. We gotta make sure that Trump remains in office because this is the tipping point. This is the breaking point. We've already seen all the people that Biden has been putting into office. I mean, it's like the second the AP started to announce or call the election for Biden, which they don't have the power to do so. But even here in California, I could just hear the swamp start bubbling in excitement all the way in D.C. Just starts bubbling up, and all the swamp rats just sticking their heads up saying, is it safe to come out again? Is it safe to come out? No, motherfucker, it's not, because you're going to Gitmo, and we motherfucking see you right there. So, from the Army News, retired General Michael Flynn retweets call for Trump to declare martial law. And this was the same thing that Lynn Wood tweeted the other day. So on Tuesday, President Donald Trump's former national security advisor and retired Army General Michael Flynn retweeted a call for Trump to temporarily suspend constitutional order and declare martial law to have the military oversee the U.S. election. Man, if General Flynn is calling for it, I trust General Flynn. General Flynn is a true patriot, and, while I would always be reserved to hear, and I shudder to hear the term suspend the Constitution, if it's just so that the military can oversee an election fair and square, the fact of the matter is that a civilian election, that the commie-crats have proven that a civilian election is not good enough anymore because they are so goddamn corrupt and they will do goddamn anything in order to get their person in power. So that they can lord over us. They want to rule us, not lead us. What was that? Even Barack Obama, when he got elected in 2008, he said, we'll be ready to rule from day one. And I remember a lot of people were like, rule from day one? Motherfucker, this is America. We don't have rulers. We have leaders. But yeah, it's tough to say, yeah, I'm on board with martial law, but this is so goddamn serious. This is so goddamn serious that if Biden gets in there, it's over. It's over. Again, we're going to find ourselves, wondering what the hell happened to America. And we could have done the big thing. And that's what I was talking about. This is the point that's going to separate the men from the boys. It's going to be, do we have the will to do exactly what we know they would do to us? Do we have that will to come out on top victorious? And sure, it goes beyond most of our sensibilities, and it's uncomfortable. But the fact of the matter is we're going against people who would do this kind of shit very comfortably. And that should give you a key, an insight into what level of evil we're dealing with. Got to take them down. Got to take them down. They cannot lead this country. Now, enough with the election, because honestly, I'm getting so tired of talking about the election and all the fraud. I mean, it's important to bring you guys all the news, but it gets monotonous. It does get monotonous, especially when it's just like, it feels like I've already run a mile, a marathon, I've crossed the finish line, and I'm just expected to just keep running. You know, we have enough evidence to overturn the election, but we keep piling on, even though we have enough, the race should be over. The race should be over, yet we're forced to just keep doing this, to just keep up the onslaught of information to show people just how devious and sinister the Democrats and Commie-crats were with this election. But we got to do it. We got to do it. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to share this information, spread the word, and make sure that those who maybe aren't as politically informed know everything that's going on. It's the only way we can know, because the Democrats, the Commie-crats, they prey on low information voters. That is their bread and butter. Low information voters, that bread and circus crowd. That's why they're called default Democrats. You turn the culture Commie-crat, and then you keep them unpolitically engaged, but you just throw them entertaining little jabs against the opposition, and next thing you know, you got a whole fucking legion of people who are just default Commie-crats, but they have no idea what the fuck's going on. They're just going with the flow of the culture. So, not good stuff. Not good stuff at all. But, man, Republicans are... We got to start coming for these Republicans' heads. We got to let them know that if you reveal yourself, you're fucking out. If you don't fight for the people, if you don't fight for the new Republican Party, you will get swallowed the fuck up and forgotten by goddamn history. So, this is from the Gateway Pundit. Simply shocking. Republican-led Senate's first major legislation after 2020 election is to appease big tech. Are you fucking kidding me? So, days before the okay, so we all know that, right before the election, they brought the big tech people in, and the Republicans put on this great show of grilling and drilling these billionaires, and I saw all these people posting these videos like, great Ted Cruz moment, rip it apart Jack Dorsey. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? I've seen this show a million motherfucking times. I'm waiting for the fucking series finale. Because we have not seen them do a single goddamn thing about this. Actions matter. Words are just noise at this point. We don't care what a politician has to say. We don't give a single flying fuck what you say, because you have whispered sweet little nothings into our ears for so damn long, and we just sat there and said, oh, that's nice. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Okay. I'll vote for you. All right, I'll vote for you. Fuck that. Fuck that. If you don't act like a goddamn conservative, if you don't act like a goddamn Republican, if you can't read the temperature of your constituents and do what they voted you into fucking office to do, you're the fuck out. You're gone. Never again. Your name in the history books? Erased. Erased. And man, this is a big betrayal because of who pushed this one, who I thought was a good guy. So instead of addressing the problems with Section 230, since the tech companies are obviously editors of content now, and the shocking election fraud that occurred in the 2020 election, the U.S. Senate passed Senator Mike Lee's Visa Guest Worker Bill. Mike Lee. I thought Mike Lee was supposed to be one of the better senators. He has been pushing this for years to bring in more cheap labor for U.S. companies while stealing good-paying tech jobs from U.S. workers. Selling out American workers, that in 2020, that's a great way for a Republican to get fucked. That's a great way for a Republican to get fucked, is go ahead and try to sell out American workers. Okay, and Emerald Robinson says here, The reason that the first thing the GOP-controlled Senate does after 2020 election is pass a visa guest worker bill for big tech is to say thank you to big tech for trying to defeat President Trump. That is right. We have so many fucking turncoats, so many quislings, so many fucking weasels in the GOP. The rhinos are worse than the commie-crats. Because they tell you they're one thing, and then they go to Washington, and then they become something entirely different, and they sell you out. They defraud you. They're gonna be swimming in a pool of hot lava with John McCain, and the ninth layer of hell comes soon. Fuck these people. Fuck these people. So Columbia Bugle tweets. S386/HR 1044, Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants Act of 2019. Listen to what they call it, the Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants Act. How is that fair for high-skilled immigrants? What about fair to Americans? What about fair to us? It's America first, motherfuckers. America first or you're done. So, it's up to real Donald Trump to stand strong and veto this trash bill. Yes, Trump better veto this real quick, and he better start calling out people by name for voting for it in the first place. For all their righteous anger at big tech for censoring their voters and boosting their political opponents, Senate Republicans were nowhere to be found when Mike Lee knelt before Google and the rest. This was a great wasted opportunity for Republicans to put America first. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, they do this even on the heels of Twitter has now hired Fifi Lee, who led Google efforts with the Chinese Communist Party to vet online speech. Now we got the Chi-Coms coming and working for these technocrats. And so up above here it talks about what I was mentioning before. And now this. Twitter hired AI expert Fifi Lee recently. They're going full speed ahead with their plans to rid America of free speech rights. That's exactly what they're doing. Fifi Lee worked with the communist Chinese government to vet and censor online speech in China. Of course, they called it a plan to identify racist content and hate speech, but we all know what that means. And, you know, I've been saying this for a while. I've been saying it for a long time, and I've only more recently been able to connect all the dots. But I've been saying that the commie-crats were outsourcing the abolition of our First Amendment rights to private corporations, because private corporations, under the more libertarian interpretation of the Constitution, don't have any responsibility to grant us their rights. But if the entire public forum takes place on the platforms of private companies, well, that essentially means the effect is the same. They're ending our First Amendment rights. And there was another story that came out. You know, there are airlines saying that, oh, you're going to need a COVID pass to be able to fly with us. You're going to be able to prove that you got a vaccine. This is the future, guys. It is the government teaming up with massive corporations to strip us of all of our rights. And because the government can't do it because of the Constitution, they are signing on massive multinational conglomerate corporations and the billionaire class to do their dirty work for them. And by the end of it, the effects are all the same. We have no rights. There's a word for this, guys. It's fascism. Fascism is, you know, we use the term cronyism for a long time. I had used the term cronyism all the way back in like 2010 or so. And it hadn't fully taken shape yet in terms of what the quid pro quo was. It was back then the idea was that it was just always monetary kickbacks for certain things, that the companies would give politicians kickback in order for favorable legislation for the company. But now it's going the other way. Now it's going the other way, where the companies are getting kickbacks in the form of this COVID lockdown, where all we can do is spend our money with these massive corporations, and then they do the bidding of the government. It's inverted. It's a complete inversion. Where before, like I said, it was the companies giving kickbacks to the government for favors, in the financial interest of the companies. Now it's the companies getting financial kickbacks from the government, screwing all their competition out of business, centralizing the entire industries under these few select companies, and then the companies return the favor by getting rid of all of our rights and implementing everything that the government wants to do to us. Watch out, motherfuckers, because this shit is real, and this is fascism. And that is why I've come up with the term fashcoms, because they operate under a fascistic economic model and utilize the totalitarian moral authoritarianism of communism. All right, so Fifi Li worked with the communist Chinese government to vet and censor online speech in China. Of course, they called it... Okay, yeah, I already covered that. So, commentators have been raising concerns over Twitter's recent hiring of artificial intelligence star Fifi Li, who is linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Twitter appoints Stanford professor and former Google vice president Li to its board as an independent director earlier this month, citing her AI expertise. Li's appointment came after she left her role as chief scientist of artificial intelligence and machine learning at Google Cloud in October 2018, following a controversy surrounding Google's Project Maven. I don't really care about Project Maven. Li was also instrumental in setting up the new Google AI lab in China. Twitter currently uses an AI technique called deep learning to recommend tweets to its users, and also uses AI to identify racist content and hate speech or content from extremist groups. France-based commentator Wang Longming said hiring Li to work at Twitter was like hiring a fox to guard the hen coop, or like firing a fucking communist to safeguard our freedom and liberty. Because that's exactly what the fuck it is. It's exactly what the fuck it is. There is kind of an interesting thing, though, on 230. Tulsi Gabbard has come out. Tulsi Gabbard tells Trump, don't back down, and has her full support in terminating Section 230. Now, it's kind of funny. It's fun to see Tulsi Gabbard actually say, Donald Trump, I fully support you. The worst part is, though, it's, of course, something that, like, all Trump supporters are like, no, Trump. We can't get rid of Section 230. We just need to enforce Section 230. We need to clear up the language, because if you get rid of 230 altogether, that means that all of the small content creators like myself, we're just going to get booted off these platforms because we're going to have our voice taken away entirely. In fact, I think a lot of people on the far left want Section 230 taken away because it will take away all the platforms for people to have any sort of speech. But I guarantee you, the first ones it's going to affect, because what it's going to do is it's going to open these tech companies up to lawsuits. And they should be open up to lawsuits if they are curating, which is what they're clearly doing. So Section 230 just needs to be enforced. But what's going to happen is they're going to get rid of Section 230, and then all of the alt-tech sites, the Rumbles, the BitChutes, the Parlors, all of those, you're going to have then all of your activist leftists go into total lawfare against any of these alt-tech companies, and they're going to be the first ones to go down, and we're going to be the first ones to lose our voice. So I do think Donald Trump is wrong in saying and asking for 230 to be taken out entirely, unless you have something better to replace it with. If you have something better to replace it with, then I'm all for it. But really, it just needs to be reformed and enforced. Otherwise, we're all fucked. So it's funny that Tulsi Gabbard backs him on like the one thing that I'm like, no, Trump, you gotta fix this one. You gotta fix this one. What we really need, though, is the head of the FCC has come out and said that he has the unilateral power to determine exactly what 230 means. And so I'm hoping that I think he's a Trump guy too. Hopefully he comes out and soon. Not dragging ass. He announced this like a month ago, and we still haven't seen any action on it. That he could unilaterally decide, implement the language of the law so that it is enforced and followed. Because right now, Trump is right that at this point it's just a free pass to all of these tech companies to do whatever they want. So he says Section 230, which is a liability shielding gift from the U.S. to big tech, the only companies in America that have it, corporate welfare, is a serious threat to our national security and election integrity. Our country can never be safe and secure if we allow it to stand. Now, I might be wrong, but I think Section 230 is part of the 1996 Telecommunications Act. And I have always hated the 1996 Telecommunications Act, because what it did is it allowed for both horizontal and vertical integration of all of these companies. It was a green light for the behemoths in media to slurp up everything under its control. So for those of you guys who don't know, horizontal integration in the media sphere means that you can own different mediums. So it's like the same company can own a movie studio, it can own a newspaper, it can own a television station, it can own a news outlet, magazines. That I don't have as big of a problem with. It's really when you combine the two. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd have to think more on that, exactly how I feel about the exact way to handle it, because I'm not sure off the top of my head. But then vertical integration means that for each one, you're able to control all of the means, whether from production to distribution. So you can own the talent agency that then hires the writers for the TV show that you produce, that is then put on the channel that you own. It's entirely integrated into the same company, and it creates absolute monopolies or oligopolies, as we have in the tech company. Before the 1996 Telecommunications Act, I believe there were over 50, around 50 different media companies, and now we have 6. We have 6, and they control everything. And that's not good. That's not good. And, it's always been an anti-conservative position to be for, let me put it this way. Most conservatives are not big fans of antitrust law. They don't like trust busting. That's the one thing that I've actually never had a problem with. I've never had a big problem with trust busting and breaking apart monopolies, because at the end of the day, the reason we're conservatives is because we don't trust a centralized authority. Now, we have always placed our focus on that on government. But if you allow certain companies to become absolutely monolithic within their industry, they are essentially a governing body for the economy. And then you have a centralized authority in the economy. That's not good either. I've just always been against highly centralized economies. Or highly centralized anything, really. Highly centralized government, highly centralized economies, none of that shit. None of that shit. So I've been kind of that odd conservative who has never had a problem with breaking up a monopoly. So the tweet came in response to Trump's writing. Okay, yeah, so we already read that. Therefore, if the very dangerous and unfair Section 230 is not completely terminated as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, I will be forced to unequivocally veto the bill when sent to the very beautiful Resolute desk. Take back America now. Thank you. And, I like and respect the sentiment that he's talking about, what Trump is getting to at this. I just think he's wrong about, if he's got something to replace it with, okay, let's hear that. Let's hear that. But getting rid of it with no replacement just means that all people like me will just be kicked off of our platforms, because we won't be worth the liability to the tech companies, especially people like me. But more of the authoritarianism, the coronavirus thing is kicking into full gear right now. LA just locked down the entire county. Like, I can't even go out on my motorcycle for a ride. I can't even hop on the Harley and go for a ride down the coast right now. We're not allowed to leave our homes unless it's for essential services. So things are getting really nuts, though, also in New York. We have a Staten Island bar owner was arrested for defying COVID lockdown and will spend the night in jail for trespassing in his own business. So last week we reported about an NYC bar owner who used a leftist tactic when he defined his bar as being located in an autonomous zone to protect him from COVID lockdown rules. I love to see that. I love to see that, because we got to start using their rules against them. We got to, we're always afraid to play dirty, but guess what? It's their rules. If it's their rules, we can use it against them. We can't be too good to use their rules against them, because then they're always, that's how we get double standards. That's when we allow the double standards to exist. And I think it's more evil to allow double standards that take the people you care about and put them under the boot of somebody else than it is to actually rise to the standards that the opposition sets, use it against them, and then level the playing field. So The New York Post reports that the Staten Island pub, located in a coronavirus hotspot, is stealing a page from the Seattle's anarchist cookbook, declaring itself an autonomous zone free from the public safety restrictions its owners say they will refuse to abide by. And let's see, hold on. Okay, so it's in one of those like red zones, but apparently this bar is like right on the edge of that zone. Like 2 blocks away, there's restaurants that are allowed to be open, and he's not. So, attention, we hereby declare this establishment an autonomous zone, reads signs outside the place around Max Public House in Grant City, invoking a phrase more commonly associated with the month-long occupation of Capitol Hill in the Emerald City by anti-cop radicals. We refuse to abide by any rules and regulations put forth in the mayor of NYC and governor of New York State. Today, the communist government of New York took action against the Staten Island bar owner. And so we have this interview here.
Guess they're making up charges, but they charged him what they assure me is just a criminal trespass, but it's still a misdemeanor, it's still a crime, and he's still going to spend the night in jail for trespassing, quote unquote, in his own establishment where he is the lease owner and general manager.
I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. But wait a second. Go ahead, John.
Greg, it's a government takeover. We just saw the government come in, raid a business, take it over, lock it down for doing absolutely nothing. We got a whole bunch of activists. People are literally stopping their cars in the street. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people coming out to support these guys. I hope there's a lot more business owners around the country. Maybe the thing to do is occupy your business. Stay in there 24 hours a day and let the sheriffs try to come in and get you out of the place. Because when they drag you out, that's when people start waking up to what's really happening. And I may just occupy the place tomorrow and do liquid lunch from here.
That would be great.
Okay. All right. But when you're inside the place, I haven't been lately, but, you know, you keep social distancing. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do for the COVID, right?
Yes, without a doubt. Again, they were following all social restrictions. Everybody was polite and respectful, even when the officers came in, and they still were aggressive, and they still threw everybody out, and they still arrested my client.
It's like the mafia. Staten Island gets a bad rap for being like in the mob. Governor Cuomo is a mobster. He just sent down his Gestapo squad here tonight and locked the place down. Hundreds of people in the streets screaming and yelling, supporting the owners, saying leave them alone, but the Gestapo took the guy out in handcuffs.
And Greg, those people weren't in the streets until the word got out, and we were stuck in there an hour waiting for these summonses. They refused to let us out, and they refused to let me out of the place, even though I said I was their attorney and not an employee. That's when the crowd started forming. Everybody inside was polite.
Hey, can I see the door? Whoever's holding the phone or whatever you got there, is the door, did they actually shut it? Let me just take a look if you don't mind.
All the trade is
Sorry.
Oh, my gosh. They're guarding the front of the... That's a bar that they're guarding?
Could you imagine you need 40 cops in the streets of Staten Island to lock up one restaurant owner for giving away free beer?
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Guys, this is this is the authoritarianism we never thought we would see in America. But it's here. But thank God. I mean, people are stepping up. This is outside that same bar. This is all the people that have come out to support.
Cuomo sucks! Cuomo sucks! Cuomo sucks! Cuomo sucks! Cuomo sucks!
People didn't realize there's only so long that we're going to take it before we do start bringing our guns to our protests. And our protests will start being very pinpointedly directed at officials and that kind of thing. This isn't a threat. I don't want this to happen. But it is a warning. It is a warning to all of you technocrats out there that think that you can throw out the Constitution, shut down businesses, destroy people's lives. You can't do that. You can't do that on edict. And, I mean, you know how I mentioned before how the swamp is just starting to bubble up the second Joe Biden got, the AP announced that he was the president-elect, which of course we know he isn't. He wants Fauci to be his chief medical advisor. and says he'll ask for 100 days of mask wearing. Get fucked, guys. I mean, I went over the other day how, you know, all the different people that Joe Biden is bringing into his cabinet, and it's all the same goddamn swamp rats that we've had in there. The same people who are just droning little kids in the Middle East and selling out America to foreign interests, and it's the who's who of everybody that we've been trying to get the fuck rid of. Why do people support these people? Why do people support the Hillary Clintons, the Joe Bidens, the John Kerrys, the Al Gores, all of these people who have lied to us, have sold us out for decades now? Their time is done. But they're prying them all back in there on us, against our will, against the will of the people. So, President-elect Joe Biden said he plans to increase Dr. Anthony Fauci's role in his administration to combat the coronavirus pandemic, in addition to asking the public to wear masks for 100 days. Fauci has gotten everything fucking wrong. Fucking everything. He hasn't gotten anything right the entire time he's been in there. He's just been in there with his gravelly voice talking about how, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Back and forth. The man is clearly just taking marching orders. And that's probably why Biden wants him in there. Or whoever's controlling Biden, because Biden's just taking marching orders himself. The former vice president said he asked Fauci, the director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, to remain in his post and become his chief medical advisor as part of the COVID team. God, fuck this. But I wonder if... I wonder if Fauci's going to be able to take a look at Joe Biden and be like, hey, that doesn't look like a broken foot you're putting all your weight on right there. Look at this. Look at this. 78-year-old man putting his full weight on a broken foot. Something was really, really sketchy about this whole Biden going to the hospital incident. Because, well, for one, they put all of the media in a van and wouldn't let them get close or see what was going on. Wouldn't let them get close and see what was going on. Now, I'm not here to speculate because I have no evidence for what was really going on, but we're not being told the whole story. That's for goddamn sure. It was either he had some more serious medical condition or, you know, there's been some people saying that boot's just there to hide some sort of ankle bracelet. I'm not saying that. I don't know. But something smells rotten in Denmark. I mean, look at him. Look at him stepping up, fixing his jacket as he puts all of his weight as he steps up on that foot that is supposedly broken or sprained or, you know, whatever happens very, very recently to the point where if he had to go to the hospital for it, he would not be able to put all of his weight on. So something is up. Something is up. But, you know, I've talked before on this channel about how the left, the Marxists. I'm trying my best to stay away from the whole left-right paradigm because it's American. In America, it shouldn't be left versus right because that is a reflection of the French Revolution, and we do not define our politics by the goddamn French Revolution. So in America, it's really from constitutionalism to Marxism. So the Marxists, the progressives, which they're progressing towards Marxism. That's what they're progressing towards. They never know when to stop. And so we should have seen it coming. That it was only a matter of time before they looked at the COVID lockdowns and scratched their head and said, gee, what else can we use lockdowns for? Look at this. We need to act boldly now if we are to avoid economy-wide lockdowns to halt climate change. And you're going to tell me that this isn't about the Great Reset? That whole thing that is apparently a conspiracy... Well, yeah, they talked about it. Paul Joseph Watson did a fucking awesome video on it called They Think We're Stupid. And he covered parts of it where recently Justin Trudeau, you know, that pretty boy fagaloon prime minister up in Canada, where he was talking about how COVID-19 presents an opportunity to bring forth the Great Reset. And then several days later, he's sitting there looking everybody dead in the eye and saying, the Great Reset is a conspiracy theory. Motherfucker, you were the one talking about the Great Reset. We got that Klaus, what's his name? The guy who started the Davos Summit. The World Economic Forum is talking about the Great Reset, which is essentially global communism. Global socialism, which, as I've described before, socialism and communism are pragmatically speaking one and the same. Because communism is an idea that there will be no government at all, yet everybody will just share in the goods, whatever that means. And it's such an unattainable thing. And socialism is the totalitarian, massive government pursuit of communism, which is supposedly an anarchic system where everybody gets along and is happy. But it's absolutely insane to think that you can use a totalitarian power structure in pursuit of dissolving that power structure. Doesn't make sense. So, pragmatically speaking, socialism and communism are the same fucking thing. Because communism doesn't exist. Communism is, it can't happen. It can't be achievable. You have to actually reprogram humanity, which is what they try to do, which is why they use propaganda. Is because they're trying to reprogram humanity, but they think that they can change human nature. They think that human beings are nothing but a blank slate and that the laws of natural order do not apply. So, anyways, I don't mean to go on a rant about that, but look at this. And this is Market Watch. Market Watch is owned by Dow Jones. This isn't some small, like, pissant company. It's owned by Dow Jones, a massive, massive company. And of course, it's a financial company, and they're the ones pushing this stuff. If you can't see that they're pushing us towards the Great Reset, then I don't know what to tell you. But the Great Reset is going to be several, a handful of massive multinational conglomerations that supply and provide everything to us, and we are slaves from there. No opportunities for us, no ability for us to create on our own. We will just be squashed out like bugs. Welcome to the Matrix. Get in your pod. Whew. Now, I want to close this out with, a story that everybody... I wasn't going to talk about this, but honestly, I think I probably should. Because this is another thing that the Marxists are pushing. The absolute... I told you that they try to treat us like we're a blank slate. And we really see that in transgenderism. Transgenderism. The idea that you are not the gender you're born, you're just whatever you want to be. You're a blank fucking slate. And whatever you are as a person, your soul, your humanity, is not in any way attached to your body. The two work together. The two work together. The body matters. And so, we've now seen Elliot Page, formerly known as Ellen Page. Oops, I just dead named her. Fuck that. Fuck that. Anyways, she has come out as transgender Elliot Page. And the first thing she did was whine about how rough everybody was going to be on her because that's what men do. So this is what she posted. Hi, friends. I want to share with you that I am trans. My pronouns are he and they, and my name is Elliot. First of all, could you write this in any more of an elementary fashion? I feel lucky to be writing this, to be here, to arrive at this place in my life. I mean, what are you doing, like a third grade writing assignment? I feel overwhelming gratitude to for the incredible people who have supported me along this journey. I can't begin to express how remarkable it feels to finally love who I am enough to pursue my authentic self. Really, your authentic self is a man? Because this sounds irrefutably like it was written by a fucking chick. Word of advice, Elliot Page. If you want to be one of the dudes, dudes don't talk like this. Dudes aren't this sensitive. Dudes aren't this soft. And those who are get beat up. So, video's starting to run long. I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm almost done, though. I've been endlessly inspired by so many in the trans community. Thanks for the courage, your generosity, and your ceaselessly working to make this world a more inclusive and compassionate place. Again, you're not really going to fit in with the dudes, you know that? Gavin McGinnis did this great video, and it was really funny, and he was talking about, all right, ladies, so you're going to become a dude. Well, there's certain things, or you're going to be a man. There's certain things about men that you need to understand. And he gives them like a primer on what it means to be a man. But that's the thing, is they don't want any of that. None of these chicks who go trans actually want to be men. They're still, you can tell just by the way she's writing this. This is not written by a man. Men don't write this way. She goes on to say, I also ask for patience. My joy is real, but it is also fragile. The truth is, despite feeling profoundly happy right now and knowing how much of a privilege I carry, I am also scared. I am scared of the invasiveness, the hate, the jokes, and the violence. You know, I would have bought this if she came out and just dropped up and said, yo, guys, I've decided that I'm going to be a dude. If you don't like it, suck my dick. If she had come out and said that, I'd be like, okay. All right, I get it. All right. But she comes out and she's whining and she's fragile. She's admitting she's fragile. That's not a manly characteristic. That's not a manly trait, Elliot. You want to be one of the dudes, you got to start acting like one of the fucking dudes. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm not going to read that whole thing. But, you know, this stuff does have real world consequences because you know, it's clearly being driven by Marxists who just want to confuse the shit out of people, turn them into putty, and then shape them in their own image. And, you know, it's absolutely disgusting, but it does have real-world consequences. And we're going to end this today with this story from 100% Fed Up. So, a Michigan-based Christian-owned funeral home has agreed to pay $250,000 as part of a legal settlement to the estate of trans-identified individual that the company fired. Back in 2014, Anthony Stevens, a guy, worked at RG and GR Harris Funeral Homes, and one day he started dressing as a woman and telling everyone he was a girl, and his name was Amy, with 2 E's. It couldn't be Amy, the normal spelling. It had to be Amy with 2 E's. A-I-M-E-E. So the funeral home fired him. Stevens passed away after the suit was filed, but on Monday, after being sued by the American Civil Liberties Union, LGBT and HIV Project on Stevens' behalf, the funeral home settled. So the funeral home, which is probably a small ma-and-pop business and is a Christian-run business, I would not like it if I saw some person with a beard wearing a dress working at my father or whatever, you know, father, mother, whatever loved one's funeral. I wouldn't want that. And they know that. Look, you cannot say that this is how I am, everybody else has to accept me. That is not how this world works. You do you. That's fine. You're free to do you. But we're also free to do us. And if that means disagreeing with you, well, you're going to have to fucking live with it. Anyways, guys, that's it for this episode of Revved Up. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, because we all know it's voices like mine that'll first be taken out back and old yellowed by the folks at Big Tech. So make sure you know when I post a video. Also, I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm starting to lose my voice. So, you know, I'm just going to end it here. Just, as always, rev your engines, ride hard, and fight like hell.
Let me tell them who I am.